students are gone, but you are still here. And we know how you feel because you are done. But you have so much work to do to get ready for tomorrow. Good afternoon, podcast listeners everywhere. Welcome to After the Bell, a Stunt Brothers production. A podcast that gets inside the life of a teacher and provides a wellness guide for being prepared to take on this most challenging of professions. I'm Martin Stuvel.
And I'm Roy Hunt. And we share your pain, having taught a combined 70 years. The guarantee of this podcast is to make you laugh, make you think, and give you at least one little nugget that you can use in the classroom. So get out your marking, organize your supplies, or just pour yourself a coffee.
I want something stronger.
And listen, engage, and interact with After the Bell, a podcast for you, the hard-working, dedicated teacher who wants free lesson plans, free advice, and a free meal.
Okay, Roy, but I'm not paying for anything more than McDonald's. Well, Mr. Hunt, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Mr. Stubel. How are you?
We are here for episode 45.
Episode 45.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here drinking some of your lovely cider.
Thank you.
I know we talk about drinking games. Yeah. This is not a game.
This is my homemade cider from my apple trees.
Serious.
Yeah.
It's seriously good.
Made 30 bottles of it, and it's a good dry cider, kind of like Strongbow, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
It is like Strongbow.
And you're still alive. So
I'm still alive. I don't know how long it takes for the alcohol to go into your body and find out if it's the right kind of alcohol.
Like I said, this is my last bottle. That's why I shared it with you.
And so you're still alive.
I made it this far, so we're good. Bottled in September, ready by Thanksgiving. That's the old saying, and that's exactly what I did this year.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Apple Tree.
Yes.
And we got a bit of a different episode here because we've been on kind of not sabbatical, but we kind of took a break this week. It's the first week
we were busy, but you were busy because you went on a big field trip.
I went on a field trip to Porto Cove, just like I did last year. So it seems to be my December 1st celebration. I celebrate December by going to Porto Cove.
You're an adventurous man.
It's the only time you can get a spot in Porto Cove.
Well, exactly, because no one wants to go there without electricity, without fire, without heat.
Yeah.
You can't even, I think there's a water ban, so you have to bring your own water.
The water was fine. I did bring my own water, but it looked like it was okay.
So you're paying for the dirt that
I had fire going. Unlike the two guys beside me. I also was surrounded by two young guys in their early 30s. It's funny how that is now a young guy, someone in the 30s.
Young guy for you.
Yeah. And this first guy, he showed up, just his car, and was camping on his own, and had a big block of wood, but no axe.
How do I start this block of wood?
No matches. So he came over and said, "Excuse me, sir, could you help me start my fire?"
Sir?
Yeah, help me start. So I chopped it up.
You look old enough to know how to start a fire.
Clearly, I do.
Starter.
I've earned it. So I chopped it up for him, and I had the paper and some cardboard and got him going a nice blazing fire that he then videotaped to send to his wife to encourage her to come camping with him next time to show that he is a fire maker, even though he's not.
He's not, because he just stood back. Right? What was it that, to teach a person how to fish, and they'll be able to feed themselves forever. So he's going to still look for that slightly older, gray-haired man with an axe in woods.
I know. And then I had kind of this similar thing the next day, probably around midnight. This guy drives up, and he gets out of his car, and then I hear him just yelling at animals and I hear his pots clanging and banging. There's a lot of raccoons there, which is causing a bit of a problem. I know, because the night before I was cooking my dinner, making my pasta, and I just went over to the sink for a second, and luckily the raccoons who came did not see my sausage that was sitting there.
Didn't take your supper.
No, but they took my big block of Parmesan cheese, up on the picnic table, and off they went with my Parmesan cheese.
Well, they had a plan.
Yeah, they did.
They said that
They had everything else.
We need some Parmesan cheese for our pasta.
They had been around the whole campground, right? They had everything else. They just needed the Parmesan.
Yep.
But this guy was, finding out that these raccoons can be a bit bothersome. So he's clanging and banging. So the next morning I get up and he comes over, and nice guy, and he apologizes. He's sorry, it was so noisy. These raccoons came and attacked me, and I told him about my Parmesan cheese. And, but he also had trouble getting a fire going, so we got that sorted.
Wow.
Next night, I hear him clanging and banging again, and I think for probably at least half the night, he was running his car engine. He was sleeping. He had a tent, but it was kind of cold and wet, and he was sleeping in his car and was running the car to stay warm. And then I hear the horn honk once in a while. I think he was honking at the raccoons. But that was my field trip, and that's why we don't have an episode that we're going to have completely. We were thinking that, because you're going on a field trip next week, right? And that's something, obviously you went on many field trips when you were a teacher. But
I did.
As a retired teacher who's a TOC now, is this your first one?
This is my first field trip.
Okay, yeah.
It's lots of teachers want to go on field trips. They get held back by the paperwork.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is trying to find enough adults
it's
to
hard
support the student ratio. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. I can remember years ago that there seemed to be no shortage of people who would volunteer I'd like to go with my son, right? And then you'd put them in the car together or whatever, or they would travel together with mom or dad. And now you can't get anybody. And this teacher from Ridgeway, who's a new teacher on staff this year, saw that I was in as a TOC, and that many of the students always enjoyed seeing me. And she was short a student teacher, or not a student teacher. She was short volunteer.
I see, yeah.
And was able to work it out so that I could go as a TOC, as a substitute teacher for the grade 7 class that she has. And her class, they know the legend of Mr. Hunt, right?
Bring him in,
yes,
bring him on.
Bring him in. And so I was asked if I would go, and I said yes. And so I will be on my first official field trip going to Science World.
There you go. See, the legend of Mr. Stubble is early 90s at Longsdale, I would just take them all on the bus by myself. It'd be me and 30 kids on the bus heading downtown.
Yes.
Not the same now.
And not the same now.
No, and that's kind of what we get into. So because we had these field trips going on, we're going to pull out one of our Manning Park sessions that are in the bag ready to go. And we have one that's on the topic of field trips.
Field trips.
And you're going to get a chance to hear that. You'll hear the call of the loon.
Yes.
And it's interesting because you and I were talking earlier before we began to record, and we listened to that episode at the beginning, and I called the call of the loon a tearjerker of a movie. And it made me think of just the movie I saw, Hamnet. This is my 5-star review for a movie, everyone. Go see Hamnet. It's just one of the best movies I've seen. The acting is phenomenal. The story writing, the direction from the woman who directed. You told me earlier, because I forgot what she directed. She won the best Oscar for
Nomadland.
Yeah, which is a fantastic film. So
yes.
I want everyone over Christmas to go see Hamnet. It's fantastic. And
well, I will go.
Especially now that Netflix has bought Warner Brothers. It'll be your last chance to see a movie in the theaters. It's quite the experience.
That's kind of sad
way
sad. Of looking at things.
Well, it was a sad decision, I think, that Netflix will own everything, and then everything will be streamed, and we'll lose that experience of being in the movie theater.
We will.
I tell you. We got a lot here in 5 minutes we cram into this episode. So listen for the call of the loon. That will bring you back to Manning Park, and we hope you enjoy episode 45. The sound of the loon. Here we are. We're not clearly in North Vancouver right now.
I know. It's just
that loon sound.
When I hear it, it just brings back so many amazing memories. The Tragically Hip and their music.
Yes.
And just at night, I could just sit and listen to it for hours on end.
And then what in the 70s? What was the nature shows that would come on? Just the CBC kind of 2-minute segments that always had the loon. It was like remember
Canada's hinterland.
That was it, Canada's hinterland.
Canada's hinterland.
And I think that's why also that's such a deep visceral emotion inside me when I hear that loon sound. It's just, to me, it's the most authentic Canadian sound. And I know it's probably found in other parts of North America.
Yes, for sure.
But it's so Canadian to me, and it's that haunting sound.
And it's sad.
Yes,
But
it is.
I like
sad.
to hear it.
Yeah, I know.
Go, oh, it's a sound I long to hear.
Yeah.
But then when you hear it, you go, oh, the poor guy's alone.
Right,
Sounds like so
It's
lonely.
It's a real tear-jerker of a movie, right?
Yes.
And we're hearing it because this is another one of our Manning Park sessions that we recorded, So you're hearing this sometime this year. We kind of banked these Manning Park sessions with the call of the loon, which we just heard live here in Manning Park, and all kinds of creatures
Running around here. And then and this is classed as a field trip that we're on.
This is a field trip.
We're on a field trip.
The whole episode's a field trip.
And
right?
as a field trip, we went with the anticipation of setting up camp,
Yes.
and working on our podcast.
Yes.
And we came here, and it was pouring rain.
Pouring rain, lightning,
And then
thunder,
lightning.
right? There was a few fires further away, so
And
for
so
a while we thought, we're going to have to evacuate.
it was
right?
unpredictable.
Yeah.
And
very unpredictable.
And as a field trip, and then continuing with the unpredictability of a field trip, we were doing a session just before this.
It was our episode 3 that we did as a Manning Park session, and there he is.
And the red squirrel.
Now I'm wary about him because of what happened during that recording.
He jumped up on the bench beside me.
Yes.
Then jumped up on the table and ran across your computer.
He did about 5 edits. He did 5 things that I couldn't undo. I don't know exactly. I've talked about hiring my son to be the sound engineer. Maybe this squirrel is the new sound engineer.
He just rearranged everything.
He touched certain buttons on my keyboard,
and
I could not undo it.
And then in our walk this morning, we walked around like Lightning Lake.
Yes, we did.
And on the other side of Lightning Lake, on our return, we ran into a group of high school students.
They're on a field trip.
And they were on a field
Maybe
trip.
some outdoor rec they're part of. We're not sure.
I think so. It seems like not far from us, there's a double campsite with about 10 tents. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that they're staying overnight.
Like about 20 students were there with 2 teachers, it looked like, or 2, professionals working with them. And they were out there getting ready to go on a canoe trip. And wow, that's a challenging thing to do.
Yes. And then when we got to where we wanted to, getting close to our campsite, there were the students out on the lake getting instructions from their teachers. Another teacher.
Don't splash each other, I heard that come across
Another
the lake.
teacher following along in a kayak. And, everyone had life jackets on.
Yes.
And the weather was great. Water was calm.
It was,
a beautiful sunny morning.
So if you assess the dangers of that, right? Well, the things we do for field trips, that we take a chance, and you got to make sure you've got everything in order because you don't want anything to go wrong.
That's right.
And I was really impressed with this group. Right,
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed with the 2 teachers or whoever they were working with them.
We're 2 weeks into the school year right now.
They had organized this, and
yes,
the student, they looked like, I'd say grade 10 or so, grade 10, 11.
Yes.
They were 15, 16, and they were listening for the most part. They were trying to splash each other. There's a few things that obviously kids do, but the 2 professionals working with them were fantastic, I thought, from what we saw. Mm-hmm. And it just got us thinking about field trips.
Field trips.
I think that's what we should chat about.
And that's going to be our topic.
This Manning Park session, right? We're just going to chat about field trips.
Field trips.
Maybe we'll share some of our field trips we've been on, some advice. We would love to hear from you.
What's your favorite kind of field trip?
Yes.
Do you have a field trip story? Because we're going to share some field trip stories.
Yeah.
You have a story about something that was unpredictable.
Something that went wrong, maybe.
Something that went wrong.
Maybe you don't go on field trips anymore. We know the paperwork
is
far more
crazy.
onerous. And, seeing this group out in the lake, you clearly understand there needs to be some level of paperwork and everything needs to be in place. All the I's need to be dotted and the T's need to be crossed, but some of it maybe has gone too far. Like I remember when they talked about they were going to have you inspect the cars of the parent drivers.
If parents were going to drive, first of all, which I don't disagree with, that all their abstracts had to be
you need to know they don't have this driving record that's longer than my arm.
And then our administrator had to look at them.
Yes.
But then for a while there, they were putting it on the teachers to check to see if the vehicle was sound.
Which, of course, got pushed back.
Yes.
And they pulled that one away. Because how do I, not a mechanic, make a judgment on the car?
Yes.
But I think a lot of these policies, unfortunately, are really driven by the lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
It's something did happen, something went wrong, and they want to make sure they're covered. It's not necessarily to help teachers out or be supportive, but it's often the legal aspect that I think dictates what happens.
Yes,
right?
And I would like to see, and as we get on and talk a little more, transportation is one of the biggest challenges.
Yes.
You have to get parent drivers, so that means you have to get parents who are willing to drive.
Mm-hmm.
But why isn't there an opportunity for BC Transit just to say, if this is going to be what you're going to do, as a teacher, you're going to take a class, then here, something really easy, not a lot of
it is now free, right?
buying-
12 and under, I think it's free now. I think in the last
Oh, really?
couple years, I believe so.
Okay.
Listeners, fact check me on that.
Okay.
But I believe that they brought a change that it in fact is free for children 12 and under.
All right. Well,
It perhaps was a short period thing they did for a while during COVID. I don't know, but I seem to recall that you can take your class for free if they're, grade 7 might be a challenge because some of them will be turning 13. But I think that change did happen.
Yes.
Which is great. And I do wish schools also had a budget to get school buses for trips because at the end of the day, it's so much easier just to have a bus and not try to arrange parents who are often very busy. And then you have to nag at them to get more parents. You have to tell the class, sorry, we might not be able to go on this trip because we don't have enough drivers. So that takes a lot of effort, right? To convince the kids then, you're putting pressure on the kids to then go home and whine at dinner time that we're not going on the field trip because we don't have enough drivers.
Right. And then you have to deal with the students who choose not to go on a field trip.
Yeah.
In our school policy was that if they were going to be in the school, then you had to find a classroom for them to go to.
Right.
Right. So, for example, when we were going to outdoor school, if there were a number of students who weren't going, then you would have to prepare work for them, and you would have to find a classroom for them.
You don't have to, but often people would.
That would
and
be
I know,
the expectation.
But the thing is, I know that.
Yes. And so you have that, and then you have the students who, actually, if it's a field trip that's expensive, then they cannot be left out. They should not be left out.
Yeah.
But then it's up to the parent to inform our administration that this is how much we can pay, and then the administration will pay what's left over. But then the parent still has to go with kind of hat in hand, and I always,
No, I hate that feeling, right?
I didn't
and
like
they're
that.
clearly, I think, like in the 70s, when I went to Ridgeway myself in North Vancouver, we went on about 3 or 4 field trips. There was a budget. We would be on a bus. I don't remember ever bringing a notice home to the parents to ask for money. And and the form to go on it was just sign here, right?
Yes.
No matter what the trip. But there was not a cost involved. There might have been if there had been longer, maybe week trips. Like outdoor school, there was a cost. It was like $40 for the week, right?
Yes.
But for regular trips, no. There was clearly a money set aside to go on field trips.
Yes.
And it's just not a priority anymore, I guess, right?
Do you have some favorite field trips that you've been on?
I do. I really enjoyed going to whale watching.
Yes, I did that once with you.
I did it twice. I did it once with this teacher my first year at Dorothy Linus, and then next year you and I and Mr. Parr, right? We also went to the west coast of Vancouver Island, to Fino, I believe. And
we were in Ucluelet.
It was,
and we stayed at the...
I just can't say it. Ucluelet. So I chose Tofino.
And we stayed at the Princess hotel,
was a boat.
It was a boat.
Right, yeah, it was
it was a
fantastic.
boat that was dry docked, and the cabin quarters were quite tight.
Do you remember my cabin quarters though? Because I was the organizer.
Mr. Captain Stubel.
I got the captain quarters.
Yes.
I got this nice
I
big
couldn't
room.
believe it.
I didn't ask for it. I was the guy organizing it. But just think of it. Like, I think I've mentioned this on a podcast. When I don't know if it was that trip, but the year before when I did this whale watching trip, I think it was gray whales.
Okay.
We were watching.
Yes.
I would have kids raise money and do some fundraising for it because it was quite pricey. I got points because I, got to use my own
On
credit
your card,
right?
on your credit card.
$9,000, which
Yes.
no longer is allowed, maybe because of my points that I received on that trip. I don't know. And I also opened up a bank account at the Bank of Montreal at Parkgate, which was close to the school. And it was a fundraising bank.
Yes.
I just went in there and opened it up, and they said, sure. And as I would get certain money, it was often cash.
You would send
I would send
kids
kids
to
at
the
1
bank.
o'clock. They would take a few $100s. Off you go with this other student, and they would go deposit it. Don't you love the 90s?
Oh my gosh! Now you can't do anything like that.
No.
Any money collected has
Yeah.
to be. You have to itemize it, checks, count the cash,
Yes.
give it to the secretary who puts it in the vault.
Yeah.
And you almost have to have it to the exact amount.
Yeah.
If it's over, then you say, "What are you going to do with the extra?" And you're like, "Well, I don't know. I'll donate it to charity."
Right. Yeah. No, but it had to be,
But it
to
had
the letter,
to be,
for sure.
and so there's just so many things, and then you had to put your form together.
Yes.
Right. You had to, and the new North Vancouver form was you basically had to write your letter to the parents and explain everything that was going to happen, and explain that this
The risk assessment.
the
took
risk
place,
assessment.
Right? Yeah.
You had to explain how this opportunity was of the student's choice, and if
Yeah.
they did not want to, they were they did not have to
And
participate.
you had to make the educational link to the
And you had to-
curriculum as
yes.
well.
And then you had to have the checklist that you have all the forms, that you had a first aid kit, that you had a cell phone, that all dietary concerns, and essentially, and you had to keep all that information and submit it at the end of the school year, which would be put in a sort of a box that would be kept in case of
Along with the right to your firstborn, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, but I mean, like, oh my gosh, but the field trips just added so much to what you were doing, and some of my top field trips that I've been on through my career. One whale watching in Ucluelet was amazing.
It was so good.
I remember we would do the physics of Playland,
Yeah.
and that's where you could take your, I think it was grade 5 and 6 class to Playland, and it was just for grade 5 and 6 students in the Lower Mainland. And they had access to Playland, and you were able to do some testing and had checklists, and you basically had a clipboard of all these activities you could do that was all connected to your physics that you're doing in your classroom. But it was
Force equals mass
going
times
through
acceleration.
math. Yes,
Right.
there's all of those amazing
All
things.
the Newton's laws, so many things.
And then another great trip was I was at Strathcona Lodge, and with a group of grade 7s. Actually, it was I was there. They weren't even my grade 7s. I was a TOC.
Oh, wow. That's a challenge. What an assignment to take
Yes.
on.
And so that was
Did you
amazing.
know that? Or you just showed up one morning and they said, actually, you're off to Strathcona for a
No,
week.
they asked me.
Okay.
They asked me. Outdoor school. My top favorites. I've been to outdoor school so many times. I went to outdoor school for a teacher at Dorothy and Linus, Mr. Hogan, who decided that for him to go to outdoor school was too much of a kind of a disruption to his family life.
Yeah,
and so
child care, right? To
and
worry
so he
about.
asked me if I would
Totally
go.
understandable,
And I think I went, I'm going to say 5 or 6 times
Mm-hmm,
for him. And I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorites?
But I love it. And I loved it because when we would go, we went outdoor school And in those days, it changed. And I'm having some memories of when we would first go. And your teaching time is just like the regular day. And then there's counselors and other teachers that take over. And we would do quite a bit of, this is on our own time, drinking, right? In the teacher thing, right? And with one certain teacher. And don't you remember how many empties there were at the end of that? You wanted to...
La 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 la.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't remember.
This was
like
all.
that.
This was not drinking at a school. It was on your own time, but it was somewhere along the way it was squashed, and we wasn't allowed anymore. And the fun had gone.
The fun was
gone,
taken away from it.
But I remember you saying you were embarrassed at the number of empties that you had to haul out to your car and hide.
Yes,
right. We were much younger and not as wise then.
Yes.
But another field trip I really loved was I did sailing with the Eagle Harbor Yacht Club 3 years in a row.
I've done that one. That's an
all-day
amazing field trip.
Lesson on these small two-person lasers or whatever they're called, boats. The 2 of the 3 times, just perfect weather, perfect amount of wind. But the 3rd time we were there, it started out that way. And this shows you, there's always the unknown. The unknown of that squirrel jumping on my laptop, right?
Yes.
We saw that group today, and it looks all beautiful and perfect and calm, but you've got to be ready for the unknown.
The unknown.
And the unknown was a storm that came out of nowhere, and there were instructors there that were in boats and motorboats going around, and they were in charge of that aspect. And so I think I was just on one boat with a student, and this just thunder and lightning storm came out of nowhere. Before we knew it, 4 boats had capsized. Kids are in the water. The clouds are dark. Wow. Wow.
Wow.
It's that challenge of those times. And the public, right? I've had friends where you go, oh, I'm going on a field trip tomorrow, and they're not teachers. Oh, nice.
So lucky.
Lucky you.
Lucky. You get to relax.
Right?
Right.
Well, it's exhausting because even if you are doing great trips like going to sailing or going to the west coast of the island and whale watching, you have to be on so much.
Yes.
You've got to be prepared for that unexpected, unknown that could happen, right?
Yes. Well, and that's the thing, because even when everything is organized, you have parents, you have support, you have everything ticked off. Then out of nowhere, something happens. And I could give you a great example. We were at the Ecology Center in North Vancouver.
Okay.
We were walking from the Ecology Center to take a bus to get back to school. And everybody was walking on the sidewalk like I asked. They were in pairs, chatting with each other. I was in the front. I had 2 adults that had accompanied us. I had one of my EAs in the back. Perfect textbook field trip. Mr. Hunt, pat yourself on the back.
Well done, Mr. Hunt.
Good job. And then I just happened to turn my head, and I see a student bolt out of the line, run right in front of a car.
Oh,
and the car slammed on the brakes. And he was fine. And then he walked to the other side of the road, and the car went by. And then I walked across the street, and so what was that about? And it just happened to be that this was the day that all the recycling and garbage was to be picked up.
Yeah.
And he saw something in a recycling pile that caught his eye. And
that's
so he's just walking, I want that.
Wow.
And he just bolted.
Wow.
And I mean,
imagine. Right.
Had he been injured, I mean, did I do again? You go through. I did absolutely everything that was expected of me.
Yeah.
But who, in the end, is responsible for this student who runs across the road?
And that is the stress of the day that the
stress.
public doesn't get sometimes.
Yes.
That is exhausting because you have to be so on, and there's so much weight on your shoulders. Do you know Donald Rumsfeld? Does that name?
Yes, that sounds familiar.
He was George Bush's Secretary of Defense.
Okay.
And he was probably on the news a lot during the Iraq War. And he would always go on about, well, there are known knowns and there are known unknowns. but we need to be aware of the unknown unknowns, right? And sometimes a field trip is somehow being aware of the unknown unknowns. The things you don't even know you need to know about, right? You need to be ready to go.
I know we have another common experience in a field trip, and that is on the SkyTrain.
Yeah.
So those people who are listening who are not from BC, we have the SkyTrain.
Yeah.
It is
our transit system,
part of our transit
rail
system.
Yeah,
goes downtown. And so I was taking a group to Science World, and again, everything. Short of having everyone tied together to ensure that we'd be all together.
Like a preschool class, right?
Sometimes they were partners, and I had parents, and I had an EA. And we're on the train, and we get to the destination of Science World.
Yeah.
And people peel off, and they go, okay, stop there. Good. And there's a student in front of me, and I just go to step out of the door, and the student said, "Oh, I forgot something." Runs back in, and so I stay.
Yeah.
And the doors close.
Yes.
And so the students are looking at me, and I just waved goodbye.
Oh, so you went.
I went with them. I'm so happy because I don't think the student could have made it back on their own without some assistance.
So mine was kind of in reverse. I had a student who, I don't know if they were in the SkyTrain with the class, and we were heading down, and then suddenly at the station, and then they popped out for a second. And what are you doing? And then the doors closed, and myself and the class, off we go to the next stop. And that student was at the previous station.
Yeah.
So I think in my memory, I obviously had another parent or an EA with me. And I think I just had them get out at the next stop. And then I got out and then went to the other side of the track and went back. And luckily the student did the right thing and waited at that station. Because that is just when your life is flashing in front of your eyes. I had it happen too. It was my third year teaching at Longsdale, and we went to Victoria. It was this great, at the time, they had this hydrofoil boat, fast boat. They have one now that just goes to Nanaimo, but this one actually went from Vancouver to Victoria, and it was really reasonable, the price, because it was a new service, and we got up at 5:30 in the morning to go to Victoria for the day, so it was a great way to get there fast. For those that don't know, Victoria is the capital city of British Columbia.
It is.
It's on Vancouver Island.
It is.
So you got to go across the water.
You do.
To get to get there. So that is why I'm talking about a ferry. And it's about a 2-hour, 1.5-hour ferry ride. So did that trip. Went to the Parliament buildings, went to the Royal Museum, which is a fabulous museum.
Fabulous.
Yeah. And then we went to Beacon Hill Park at the end to have our lunch, and then we were going to take the ferry back. So we're at Beacon Hill Park, and I'm with the class, and I had parents helping, and they're all responsible for different groups. And then we all line up, and Marco isn't there. And I can remember his name.
Marco.
Polo. Oh, exactly. And I kid you not, his name was Marco.
Okay.
That's how the game began. He was not there. Is that petrifying or what, right?
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm a third-year teacher. No Marco. Where's Marco? And then I can still picture it. This truck drives by. It stops. And then out of the passenger side gets out Marco.
Polo.
And I said, and then the truck drives off. I said, Marco. He said, I was down there and everybody was gone. And then this nice man saw me. He said, I told him I was lost. He said, I'll drive you to the ferry. So I think the person was probably kind because they dropped them off, but what a nightmare.
Oh, my gosh.
And it did not end in a bad way, luckily.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
It's something, the same thing. It was, because oftentimes, you give all this information to parents and said, this is where we're going to be. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And one of the trips that I'd like to do on the year end was to walk down to Lonsdale Quay and right up in the waterfront. And the students get to choose what they want to eat at Lonsdale Quay, or
Yeah.
they bring their lunch.
Okay.
And then we go to the park that's beside Lonsdale Quay.
Yes.
It's a beautiful place. We bring Frisbees, and it's usually a sort of our year-end activity for grade 4s and 5s. It was perfect. So I take the students down, and then we go into Lonsdale Quay. And there are, again, lots of other teachers with me.
Yes.
Some EAs are with us, and everybody's accounted for, and everybody checks in and check, and
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
And 2 girls are missing.
Oh gosh.
And we looked and looked and looked and looked and looked and looked around, and so we started asking the other questions to other students. Do you know where so and so and so and so is? And finally, we went to this last group of girls because we're starting to freak out. I said, "Do you know where so and so?" Yeah. Oh yeah, her mom came and picked them up.
No way.
And so the parent came, picked up their daughter, but picked up someone else's daughter
And did not
and
tell
did
you?
not tell us. And
Wow. That's the unknown unknowns
I had that
right there.
huge sweat going on.
Right, of course.
And like, and again, I think that's what one of the things you mentioned before is the public doesn't know, or doesn't think about it. They only think to the point of their own son or daughter.
Right.
They don't think of sometimes. I'm not saying all, but many of them don't think, okay, the teacher should know this, right? Because we are right. We are responsible for those kids.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a Latin term that describes it. It is impertus locus.
Sounds impressive to me, Roy.
I'm gonna check into that.
Okay.
But basically, what it
Okay,
means is
yeah.
in place of the parent.
Okay,
and
yeah,
that
yeah,
is the
okay,
legal
yeah.
jargon.
Yeah, parentis, yeah, right? Yeah.
That is the legal jargon. It says while the parent is gone, you are there in place of the parent.
Yes, yeah.
And and to think that like another parent would just come and take their child, take another person's child, and not tell you.
No.
I mean, just like.
And and that's why I think a lot of people maybe do shy away from field trips because it is becoming more challenging. Parents do things like that and the paperwork. And I saw this preschool class. You mentioned all holding onto a rope, but just yesterday on Longsdale, they were cute little. They're all wearing their yellow vests, right?
Yes.
All of them, right? And they're all holding onto a rope, crossing the street. And maybe we're going to get to that point where no matter what the class, they all have to hold onto the rope because there's so many things sometimes, and kids are more impulsive, and there's other issues that for some people, I think they've decided, you know what, I'm just going to have groups come to the school. I'm going to have this science activity to the school. And I think there may be less field trips than there were in the past because of all that and the challenge of it and the fear of something going wrong and then people losing their job. Even if you had done everything you could have possibly done.
Yes.
It's not necessarily warranted, but I think there is that fear and the cost of programs and things have changed.
And think of all
Things
that
have
time
changed, yeah.
putting that field trip together.
Yeah.
And that's why I think a lot of teachers do it with other teachers because
yeah.
they can share the burden of the paperwork, share the burden of getting all that documentation together. But when you think about how much work that takes before you even go on a trip, aren't you supposed to be doing your day plans? Aren't you supposed to be marking? Aren't you supposed to be working on curriculum? Aren't you supposed to be working on social emotional development? Aren't you supposed to be?
I think I'd like to hear from listeners if they are going on less field trips, because my feeling is maybe that was one of the positive things of going through the COVID time. That obviously there were no field trips then, so people established that they actually maybe don't do as many field trips. Like I didn't feel that after that. I still went on a few field trips, but I didn't go on as many, and I didn't feel pressure from the kids. Like before that time, kids would often say, "What field trips were we doing?" Parents, "What field trips were we doing?" I didn't hear that from parents after because it wasn't an established norm anymore, and so maybe that has made it easier for people to go, you know what? We'll just do a few little things. Might go on a walking field trip because that's always easier. If it's in the neighborhood, you don't have to do as many forms on it. But the pressure was off, which is a shame, actually, because I think you can have a group come in, but it's not the same as going out like we are here in this field
Yes.
trip at Manning Park. Well, we could have a group come in and tell us about Manning Park and show us slides. I don't think it ever would be the same as being able to go out into nature or experience whatever
I
that
agree.
reason of that field trip is, especially kids today who don't tend to have those connections to things outside. Everything is virtual, online, on the computer. We need those field trip connections.
When I think back to those times that I was out at outdoor school with the grade sixes, I was with the grade threes, I was with the grade fours, I was with the grade sixes, and those students who didn't really shine in the classroom or found the academics of the classroom challenging, but going onto the farm and looking at all the farm animals, or doing pond study, or looking at the salmon in the salmon hatchery, and collecting eggs or catching fish.
Right.
There are so many switches that went on for some of those students who didn't see school as their favorite place, but outdoor school was their favorite place.
Don't you find there were some students like that where other teachers would go, "Oh, I can't believe you're taking so-and-so out," right? Are you sure that's going to be okay? And they actually did the best.
Yes.
Right? Because they were out of the box of the classroom.
And because there was something that connected with them to the point that they were invested and said, you know what, some of that behavior that I had back in the classroom, I'm going to put that on a side burner because I'm interested in this. And if me being more focused, if I get to spend more time, feeding the pigs,
right,
or with the chickens, or outside an archery range, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is when you can look at those students and how they were able to sort of control themselves for something that they really wanted to do.
Right.
You can use that as an opportunity to explain about that benefit of, checking your own behavior if you can.
Right.
I mean, not everybody can.
For sure.
But they can to a degree if they want to. And it's, but look at that. You did this and you were able to get this.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can use those experiences that are out of the classroom to translate to a life lesson.
Absolutely.
Or translate into something that is a tangible lesson for the future.
And don't you think that's the value of the field trip? And I don't think we do value field trips enough as an education system anymore. I think that's part of the problem. Everything's checked off. We're trying to deal with the lawyers and what could happen if things go wrong. But I think we need to value it in terms of making sure there's a fund to pay for it, there's buses to pay for it, there's ways to do this so it's a success, and not what we think about today is trying to figure out the unknown unknowns all the time and just being so exhausted that you go, you know what, I don't think I'm going to do these field trips anymore because they are valuable, right?
Well, I remember my daughter in high school, she went on a trip. It was an amazing, I wouldn't call it a field trip, but it was connected through her program at Sutherland High School.
Okay.
And she went on a trip to Costa Rica.
Oh, wow.
And she went with Insight.
Now that's a field trip.
That's
I want
a
to
field
go
trip.
on.
And she went with Insight Education.
Okay.
And Insight Education puts together programs that are connected to the curriculum. They deal with a lot of private schools.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Because, I guess the cost.
Because of the cost.
Yeah.
But they look at the place where the school wants to go. Maybe they want to connect with some historical activity that happened. Maybe they want to, there's a school that might want to go to New Orleans because New Orleans is the birthplace of jazz, but also New Orleans is connected to the slave trade and the history of New Orleans. And
you could also do the Acadians and the Cajuns and all that. There's so much you could do.
But they put that
Canadian
together.
History.
They put that together. And so what happens in this program is the teachers from the high school or from the, and they do elementary schools. The teachers are only there to direct the students. And then Insight provides a facilitator and they provide a local who organizes the trips and the transportation and the restaurants they go to. And so Insight Education does this. My daughter went on this trip. It was a fantastic experience. She enjoyed it so much that she now works for Insight Education.
Well, that says everything, doesn't it?
And
that's amazing.
And Insight Education, as just
does she get to lead like trip? She gets to
she's
go
led,
outside.
Well,
and, like,
my trip to Iceland.
Oh, okay.
When I went to Iceland,
right? It was.
I went a
yes.
week before a group came.
Yes.
To Iceland, so we were able to travel through Iceland together. She acclimatized herself in that week.
Yeah.
And she led a group of, hard to believe, I think 7 students, 7 grade 8 students. They paid a lot of money to go to Iceland for a week.
Yeah.
And they're from a private school, but they had an unbelievable experience.
Yeah.
Now, that's only 7 students.
Right. That's right.
Right.
There's a key thing there, the numbers.
The numbers.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is Insight Education is just hiring like crazy right now because they have so many schools connecting with them saying, we want programs because Insight Education does risk assessment. Insight Education has some lawyers involved. Insight Education will tailor make a program for you. And so Camille, my daughter, is going to Portugal.
Oh.
And she is also going to Whistler. And she's facilitating groups there. And it's unbelievable. And they're busy with field trips.
Yeah, but things have changed, and cost, it does become more prohibitive. Because I think what the best trip I ever did as a student was when I was in grade 10, Quebec Exchange. And I think it was very minimal, the cost to my family. It was a week in Quebec, and then the students came and we billeted together, and they stayed with us. But that was, I think there was a federal government grant at that time. But I also think how it was run was far more open than anything would happen today. Because you talk about all that, and we were billeted with the students, but we had so much free time. You know, we were in grade 10 in Quebec. The parties that we went to, you know, the teachers would be doing their own thing, and they didn't know where we were, and they would just trust that you were at the house and you had this time. I don't think that would be allowed today.
No.
And in Quebec, I mean, it would obviously we have places you can get liquor, but we don't have it in the corner store. But there it was in the corner store, and I remember. I mean, I was grade 10. I told you the story before about when I started teaching at Longdale. People thought I was a grade 7 student. So in grade 10, you know, some of the other students had beards, but I did not. I looked like a little boy, grade 10. But I remember going into a corner store in Quebec, getting a case of a 24 pack, right? This little Martin, right?
Yes.
And somehow nobody said, "Do you have some ID?" I clearly was not, and they did have drinking. I think 16 was their age, or 18 anyway, right? And somehow, you know, off I went, parties and this and that, and getting in all kinds of trouble. And that is where I saw my one and only baseball game. We went to an Expos game in Montreal, and I think Gary Carter was a big baseball player at that time.
Yeah.
Boring game. It's funny because my son just went to a Canadians game here. He had never been. He said it's fantastic. So much fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. But this game, not fun until Gary Carter hit a home run, and suddenly we all woke up. Right.
Yeah.
And partly it's because I'd been out the night before drinking and I hadn't really had any alcohol at that point. Right. And I looked like something was up. And I remember a teacher trying to go, was there something going on last night? You know, going out to a party. And then we visited the Plains of Abraham, and I was hungover, and it was like, and I think somehow we go from one extreme where that's a bit much.
Yeah.
Kids should not have that freedom.
Yeah.
But then we go to the other extreme where we have to have everything, where we're inspecting the cars, right? Where there's so much cost that now is involved, right? Because everyone has to be in a hotel that you have to rent. You can't billet students out anymore, maybe. So that becomes something that's prohibitive because we can't afford it. And then so it doesn't happen. Well, what a shame.
One of the amazing programs they have here in North Vancouver is through the high school. North Vancouver has a sister city Chiba City, Japan. And Chiba City, Japan, their high schools and the North Vancouver high schools, and especially Sutherland, they do an exchange.
Oh, wow.
And I believe it's 2 weeks long. And so the students from Japan come and are billeted here in North Vancouver.
Right.
And then the students from North Vancouver go to Chiba City and are billeted in Japan.
Yeah.
Now, again, for a family to be able to have someone billeted, they have to do a criminal background check, right? And as a result of that criminal background check, which teachers have to have it.
Yeah, no, I'm not laughing at that. I'm just sorry. I'll let you finish your story. It's bringing back memories of the Quebec exchange.
So then, the teachers,
yes,
teacher has to have a background check.
Yes,
the families have to have a background check.
Yes,
but the families in Japan were insulted.
Because that wouldn't be done there, right?
Culturally, we would.
You're assuming that I have a criminal record,
yes.
right? Yeah,
and as a result of that, they can't get billets.
Wow.
And because their families are saying, no, we're not going to do this. We won't do that. And so I'm not sure of what state it's a big field trip, but what state that program is in currently.
Yeah.
But I know that it was as the expectations for more paperwork and more justification of checking into the families was expected. It pushed a cultural button that it went too far for many of the Japanese families.
Yeah.
Now, and the reason why I know so much about this is when I lived in Japan and I worked for the Chiba City Board of Education.
Okay, yeah.
My job was to meet the high school students from North Vancouver.
Oh, that's amazing.
At the Chiba City
Hotel.
Hotel.
One day you'd be working in North
I know
Van.
that was one of when I went for my interview. I said, "Oh yeah, I met the
that sounded pretty
the
good.
teachers and the students from North Vancouver
Listen
in
to my
Chiba City
connections.
because Chiba City is a North Vancouver sister city, and I know that." And
But there were no background checks when I went to Quebec in that exchange, and you just off you went. And I remember because the family I stayed with, the older brother of the student I was with, he was probably 18. He had a motorbike, and he took me out on that motorbike down the highway, right? So fast. I'd never been on a motorbike. Imagine, right? No problem whatsoever. And I remember we were with other students, and this other kid showed up on a motorbike, right? So that's just the level of openness. And when the student came and lived with us for the week, this Quebec student, I remember he only ate potatoes. My mom didn't know what to do, and I think that was on his form that we'll just eat potatoes. Like she'd make a nice meal and there'd be potatoes. He would just eat the potatoes. He just ate potatoes. I don't know how he survived.
He survived.
Well, the Irish did, I guess.
Yes.
Oh my God. Sorry, that wasn't very nice.
So, and in this episode about field trips, I think really we would love to hear.
We want to hear your background
stories about field trips.
Yeah.
Are you going on field trips?
Yes.
Do you have specific field trips that you go on, and are you one and done, one field trip and that's it?
Yeah.
Do you have a field trip story about a field trip that went kind of sideways?
But for now, I see that little chipmunk. Well, the squirrel, the red squirrel, running around, and I want him to stay off my keyboard. I don't need his sound engineering.
Yes.
I'd rather go sit by the lake and hear the call of the loon.
Yes.
Right? Because I love that sound, and maybe have a cocktail or two.
I think a cocktail would be good.
Go on another type of field trip.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, listeners. This podcast is organic, taking shape with each episode. Building resiliency for teachers everywhere.
That sounds great.
And our website is stuntbrothers.ca.
That's stuntbrothers.ca.
We will chat again
after the bell.